another episode of Podcast 129. I am Hunter Waldrop, and I got both the fellas here joining me today. Got Jake and Tyler here. And today we are doing the SEC Conference Preview, the last conference preview we have ahead of the 2025 season. And fellas, we've got football this weekend. We've got college football games, a ranked matchup even this weekend happening in Dublin, Ireland. Week 0, right around the corner. How are we feeling?
Pumped, man. It's finally here. I feel like we've been talking about it like each time we've gotten on here about week 0's coming, and now we're 4 full days away. It's time to giddy up. 12 o'clock Saturday. It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, I'm also excited. First season in the last 4 years that I haven't been playing football, so I can actually sit back and take it in and enjoy it a little more. So I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to go.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that, fellas. I am very, very excited myself. Farmageddon in Dublin, Ireland, in the middle of the potato farm. I don't think I'm ready for Pat McAfee to be drunk off Guinness screaming at my television set at 9 a.m. It's gonna be awesome. With that being said, it is time to we're gonna have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of thoughts, lots of opinions, and lots of unknowns ahead of the SEC preview. So let's hop right into it. Let's not waste too much more time. Jake?
Yes, sir. As always, go follow us on our socials. We're going to be way more active on Twitter once the season begins. That's something me and Hunter like to use during the day as the games are going on. We get on there and talk about dumb crap, tweet out dumb crap to get people's juices flowing as the games are going on Saturday. So we'll be more active on that. We're on TikTok. Guys, I'm doing my best. I feel like I've done a good job for the most part. The main thing with TikTok is like staying consistent and actually getting a video out like once a day or once every other day or twice a day. TikTok being more active. Instagram, Hunter's taking a good job, doing a good job taking care of that. So give us a shout out on all of our socials. We really appreciate that. Like, comment, follow, all the things. So we appreciate it. And subscribe to this video if you're watching on YouTube.
Please subscribe. Please subscribe.
Yes. Please
we
subscribe.
are that close to 100 subscribers on YouTube.
Hell yeah, baby.
We're like this close. So go steal your grandma's phone, download the YouTube app, and hit subscribe. Okay? Every subscriber counts. So thank you guys for listening as always. And it is time for a Jake Stinchcomb revamped 1st and 10.
All right. 1st and 10 today. I'm going to go first, so it gives you all a little bit of time to think about. But talking about the SEC today, I want to know what storyline or person or player or anything that revolves around the SEC are you most excited about going into this year? It can, like I said, it could be a player. It could be like a narrative that's people are going on right now that you're excited that it's going to happen or excited that I'm ready to stop hearing about this shit. It's not going to work out. Kind of that sort of thing. Mine is I'm excited when it gets to be like November or December. What is the coaching carousel going to look like? What kind of rumors are going to be going around when we get to weeks 9, 10, and 11 at the end of the SEC schedule? And what is the coaching situation going to look like? I think there's potential that you could see 4 to 7 coaches get canned at the end of this season. Like there's several, like Shane Beamer, Billy Napier, Brett Venables, Hugh Freeze, Mark Stoops, like there's 4 off the rip that like if it doesn't work, Sam Pittman, there's 5. Like there's several coaches this year that they're not on the hot seat yet necessarily, but when we get to that point in the season, it's very well that they might be on the hot seat at that point. Another one off the top of my head, I'm not saying he's going to get fired, but if it gets to be week 11 and Alabama's like 8 or let's say Alabama's like ranked between like 15 and 25 and they got to beat Auburn week 12 to just even have a chance like to go 9-3 or something. Shit's going to get hot down in Tuscaloosa, like stuff like that. I'm excited to see what the coaching, I guess all the talk around the coaches in the SEC is at the end of the season. So that's what I got.
To piggyback off that, I was going to just throw another name out there similar to Kalen DeBoer. What if like Garrett Nussmeier has like an underperforming year and LSU has 4 losses going into that last game against
Could be hurt. We don't know. Just saying.
He could.
Could be hurt.
I'm just saying, like, me those Cajuns in Baton Rouge wouldn't be crawling up Brian Kelly's rear. You know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hot. If that were to be the case, I'm interested in seeing that. So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, what if Texas don't win the SEC in their first round exit? I'm just saying.
No, he built that. He's safe. I had two, but one of these teams is going to get talked about, and I'm not going to continue on about LSU because we just have. I know you guys specifically have a lot to say about them. My most intriguing storyline is DJ Lagway at Florida. I don't have a lot to say about Florida. We're going to do a little bit more of an open discussion this episode rather than going through and just talking about individual teams for 10 minutes at a time. But instead of repeating myself with what I think is the most intriguing storyline, we'll get there in a second. But number 2 for me is DJ Lagway. Florida last year went 6-0 with him when he started at quarterback for them. He's got the potential in the world. The health is what's holding me back. And I don't know. I just think it's going to be very intriguing to watch and see how good will Florida be able to sustain through 12 games with a very tough schedule. But when they got a guy like DJ Lagway, quarterback, who can change the game, I think that's the most interesting part. Because what's going to happen if he goes down? How much does that deteriorate the team? Are they well built enough around them to win some of these games like 13-16? Because apparently the front seven on the defense is looking strong. The offensive line's looking strong. They have done a good job at receiver. I think they have 2 really good running backs at Florida. Can Harrison Bailey come in and just get them up past the finish line until DJ gets back? Or is it going to go in the other direction and Billy Napier ends up out of a job this year? I think that is the most intriguing storyline in the SEC is the Florida Gators and more specifically DJ Lagway.
That's a good one. I like that a lot. Tyler?
Yeah, so kind of recently in the news, John Mateer might be in some trouble. So kind of going the opposite of where you guys went, I'm ready for the Oklahoma narrative to end. They're not going to be that good, and you're going to hear more from me on that later. But they're really going to suck if John Mateer gets suspended because he can't keep his money off of college football games. And what a dumbass to name his Venmo USC versus UCLA or whatever the hell it was, sports gambling. Like, what an idiot. Like, come on, be better. Be better. I'm ready for that narrative to end, though. And I think that it will very quickly end. I don't think it will take very long for people to realize that Oklahoma is not going to be good. So I'm ready for that one to be over. And, yeah, that's a take that I hate right now.
Yeah. I like that, Tyler. I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah,
I'm not going to respond much to either of y'all's because I know we have a lot to get into, and I'll probably in some shape or fashion respond here in a little bit to both of y'all's. But the Gators, that's obviously a very exciting storyline that everybody's talking about. And John Moneyline, John Mateer. He's hot in the news right now. If you haven't heard of him yet, you just have. So I'm excited for it. So with that, we ready to dive in, Hunt?
I'm ready, and I'm ready to talk about some money line Mateer, fellas. All right. A few quick hitters before we get into this. Like I previously mentioned, we're going to try our best, I should say. Sometimes we go on tangents and we want to respond to one another. We're going to try our best not to go 10 minutes per team and piggyback off one another. We're going to try and make this an open discussion more. We're going to focus on that one team, but instead of the normal, hey, here's their schedule, this is what I got them going. What are your thoughts on that? More piggyback questions, but another quick hitter. And we were talking about it before we started recording. This is the hardest SEC conference we've had to predict probably in our lifetimes. Yeah. The addition of NIL, the addition of the transfer portal has made this conference so much more even. And when we get to our hot takes, I have one regarding, kind of how the conference has become more even. And I think it's going to be very interesting. This was not easy for me. at all. I know it wasn't easy for Jake or Tyler. We had to go through the conference schedules a few times. It's not your grandmama's SEC where you had Nick Saban versus Mark Richt or Nick Saban versus Urban Meyer every year, and then the occasional Les Miles LSU or the occasional Coach O LSU. This is going to be different. I think there's not a surprise for me if you tell me the team with the ninth best odds to win the SEC, let's say that I think it's South Carolina, if they were to beat the team with the third best odds in Alabama this year. That wouldn't surprise me. Like, there's just not a lot of big – it's not a big jump from 1 to, like, 5. And it's not a big jump from 5 to 9. I think it's going to be a very interesting conference. It's going to be the most fun conference to watch this year, just with all the star power. I think it's going to be kind of similar to the Big 12, maybe not as tight, but we'll see. Any thoughts or opinions on that one?
I think you're right there. Even right before the show, I was still trying to figure out what all I thought. I couldn't really nail it down. It took me a couple of tries going through that schedule, like you said, to figure out where I was. And it's everything is so similar now. And with NIL, I think that college football is kind of turning into a more of a business than it has been in the past. And it's almost kind of like the NFL. I mean, any team can beat anybody on any given Saturday. And, I think that holds very true in the SEC specifically. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with both of y'all, especially kind of talk about this in my hot take, but any given Saturday, anybody can beat anybody. And yeah, we talk about teams like Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy at the bottom of the league this year. But if you get trapped, with everybody's schedules as hard as they are, if you get trapped in a little sandwich where you got to go to LSU 1 week and then in 2 weeks you got Georgia at home and then you got little Vandy or Kentucky on the road in between that, those are trap spots. So I don't think anybody's safe every single Saturday in the SEC, and I think that's what makes it so much better with how that's a pro, at least with what the new era of college football looks like with the portal and the NIL and everything. So,
all right. And without further ado, we got our surprise team for the SEC. Jake, I'm going to start you off first. I'm going to have a little bit on this team as well. What stuck out to you most about the Ole Miss Rebels outside of Austin Simmons?
Outside of Austin Simmons, well, one, this is very recent. Their defensive coordinator, Pete Golding, who used to be at Alabama, he actually just signed a 3-year extension. He's going to be the highest paid assistant in the SEC. And to me, what that tells me is I think that they found something with Pete Golding, and I think Kiffin trusts in this guy because one of the questions at Ole Miss the past several years with Lane Kiffin has been, well, their defense can't keep them in games, and this is about to be his 3rd year. And last year they were obviously better. They weren't like the best defense in the SEC by any means, but they continue to get better each year. And I think with Austin Simmons, they have a bunch of playmakers on offense, and something I kind of give Lane Kiffin in my head the Mike Gundy treatment. And that's what that to me means when expectations aren't as high. Last year, expectations were through the roof for Ole Miss. They were. And then they lost to – who was it? They lost to Kentucky at home early on in the season. And that's when expectations were high, a lot of pressure on that team. I don't think that Kiffin and his teams perform well in those spots. So I think when, like this year, so many other teams are getting talked about besides Ole Miss, or over Ole Miss at least. I think that if it works with Austin Simmons, which I talked about in the Vibes episode, the defense is going to continue to get better. It's Lane Kiffin. He has playmakers everywhere. I actually just found out their tight end that they got from Arkansas, Luke Haas, I think is his name. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. He could potentially miss the entire season. He got hurt at fall camp, so that's great. But they have another tight end, Daquan Wright. I can't pronounce anybody's names. Caden Lee, another good receiver. They have a bunch of playmakers. And even after losing Jackson Dart and Trey Harris to the NFL, I think it's just a team. Expectations aren't high. They're not being talked about enough. I think they're going to come in and just shock the world. I really do. I think they're going to be a playoff team. So that's what I like about Ole Miss this year.
Yeah, I like the Rebels too. The vibe I kind of get from Oxford, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the vibe I'm getting is that everybody was just a year too early on the Rebels. it was the year before the year type
Yeah.
of vibe. So I like that a lot. My biggest question mark for them, actually, I have more on that next slide. Another intriguing pick here, Mr. Tyler Vaughn. Everybody is down on the Arkansas Razorbacks. A lot of people taking the under 5.5. They have Taylor Green, and then it's like, well, what else do they have? Is Sam Pittman going to lose the locker room? So I'm very interested to hear what are your thoughts and why do you think Arkansas is going to obviously go above that 5.5 win total and make some noise in the SEC?
All right. I just want to preface by saying this team is not going to be a top 5 team in the SEC by any means. But like you just said, a lot of people are taking them to go under their win total and just not be – I mean, everybody thinks they're going to be a bottom 4 team in the SEC. I just don't see that. I think that their front 7 on the defensive side has gotten better. And as well as their offensive line, I think that they showed a lot of improvement last year. And I think that if they can hold up for Taylor Green just a little bit longer than he had at the beginning of the year last year, where you saw all the struggles with them, I think that they have a chance to be a competent team. By no means are they going to go out there and they're going to hang 40 on Alabama or anything like that. However, I think that they have the possibility of being a 7-5 team, maybe even if they are 6-6, which is where I've had them going 6-6 in a couple of the little things that I've ran. But I think for them, it's going to be very big for them to get over their win total, just because everybody expects them to be under that 5.5 win total. So that's why I have them as a surprise team. I think Taylor Green is a good football player, and I think that they've just improved. Like I said, they're not going to go out there and be world beaters and be a top 4 team in the conference, but I think they're going to be better than people are giving them credit for, which is why I have them as a surprise team.
I like that a lot, man. I'm not too high on Arkansas myself, but that's also not a team that's getting talked about a lot. And so I was very interested in hearing that. I think you covered them well. It's going to be interesting. I could see them, winning 6 or 7 games or beat Missouri that last week of the year, get Sam Pittman to a bowl game, and then he kind of rides off on the sunset in his own terms. I think whether it's retirement or whether for whatever reason the administration decides to let him go, I do think this will be Sam Pittman's last year at Arkansas. And I would prefer for it to be on his own terms, as I'm sure everybody would. So
yeah. I'll go a little bit off of that, Tyler. I like what you said about the offensive and defensive line. I feel like Sam Pittman, as a coach, everybody looks at him like he's going to have a good team in the trenches. In the past few years, that just hasn't checked out for him. So if they can improve in the trip, like I take Georgia in 2021 as an example, when they were a top 15 team and they came to Athens, they got dominated in the trenches. And just in games like that where they play teams who are more physical, bigger, stronger, they just get bullied. So I think if they have a quarterback who is athletic enough and has the ability to take over a game and just do whatever he wants to on offense and keep them in a game, yes. But like I said, you have to be able to compete with a defensive front like Alabama, like Texas, like Georgia. So how do they rise to that occasion, I guess you could say. And another thing about Arkansas for me is their fans, at least what I see from an outside fan looking in or an outside watcher, want him gone, most of what I see. But it seems like everything you see on social media, like those players, Arkansas players, they are like bought in and love their coach. He is very good at developing relationships with his players, especially offensive linemen. He did that for years at Georgia. So I think he's got what. Let me ask you all this. What do you think? And I don't want to spend all of our time on Arkansas. We have 15 other teams to talk about. But is there a world that Sam Pittman is safe this year? And if it is, how many wins is that? And I feel like this is a question there we could ask for like half the teams that we're going to talk about is what number does this coach have to get to in order to be safe for another year? For me, I think if Arkansas goes, 6-6 in a bowl game, he's safe. I really do. But I was interested to see what y'all thought.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. I think 6-6. If they play a game and if they play a bowl game, I think he's safe. And I think, like Hunter said, I think he probably retires at that point. But I think that he's not necessarily out of the hot seat, but he's not going to get fired if they win 6 games.
I think there's 3 possible outcomes. I think he's done, like I said, after this year, regardless, whether it is retirement or whether he gets let go. However, I think he's either A, going to retire no matter what, and they'll let him finish out the season, or B, he's going to get canned right before they play their bowl game so they can bring in a new coach, or he will retire if they make a bowl game right there. Like, he'll still be around, but they can still go on their coach search, like give him a little bit of a heads up. Or C, he just starts out really bad and they let go of him in the middle of the year. I think those are your 3 options. But hypothetically, Sam Pittman wants to be the head coach at Arkansas for another year, and he's not going to retire. How many wins does he have to get to? I think it's 7 without a bowl game win. I don't think Arkansas wants to be a 6-6 team consistently, just making a bowl game or being right there. I think they need to see some sort of improvement, some type of future there. And especially in the SEC where everything's just clogged right there in the middle, but you also see that, wow, if we get dealt a tough schedule and we win 9 games, we got a chance. So where can we find 2 more wins at? And I don't think that they're going to see that being their future with a guy that continues to go 6-6 or 5-7. So, especially when you got all the Walmart money and the Tyson chicken money out there in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We saw what it did with Coach Cal. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try and go swinging for somebody. But to answer your question, 7 wins is what I think. And that's cutting it close because I think they're done and they're trying to see if he's going to retire this year because he has done good at the program, and I don't think they want there to be any bad blood.
Yeah.
That's just kind of my 2 cents on it.
Yep. I'd love to have him back in the Classic City, man, coaching them boys up front.
Nah, I think when he's done, he's done. I say that, though. You never know.
Yeah.
Surprise team for me, I got the Oklahoma Sooners. I'm on the exact opposite train that Tyler Vaughn's on. He's not a big fan of them this year. My biggest thing with Oklahoma is not just John Mateer. Yes, I think John Mateer's great. I have more to say on John Mateer later. I will go over his stats later and how highly I think of him, and I do think highly of him. I think he played great at Washington State. And yes, I know, anytime he faced a good team at Washington State, he tended to struggle. I know. But he also was playing at frickin' Washington State, who just got left by 10 other teams in the Pac-12, and their roster got depleted. And so the talent level, I think, there's a big discrepancy. They have surrounded himself with talent at both wide receiver and at running back. They went and got Jaden Ott out of California, who I think is a stud and is going to play a big factor, which I think is another reason why Oklahoma is going to be good, because I think they can beat you multiple ways. I think that they are going to be able to run the ball 25, 30 times a game with Jaden Ott, and they'll probably have a 2 or 3 back there that nobody really is talking about because Jaden Ott's getting all the headlines. Last year, or every year that Brent Venables has been there, we have seen the defense improve. This is the big thing that Oklahoma wanted, was a better defense. They never had one under Lincoln Riley. Brent Venables is about to be calling the plays on defense for the 2nd straight year. I think it's nothing but success there. And lastly, the biggest reason I see Oklahoma being the surprise team, and I think they're going to sail over the 7.5 win total. I got more on them in the next episode, but they didn't just bring over John Mateer. They brought over Ben Arbuckle, who was the offensive coordinator at Washington State. Before that, he was coaching in the state of Texas. He learned under Mike Leach. I think bringing over the quarterback is one thing. Bringing over a coordinator is another thing. When you bring them both over as a package, I think there's exponential growth that's for the Sooners this year. And we talked about it in the Big Ten episode. I think they beat Michigan, and I think that is where they gain all of their momentum to propel that into a very good season for the Sooners. I know they got a tough schedule, but I think whether it's them or whether it's Florida, and I don't think it's Florida, so I think it's going to be Oklahoma, I think they're going to find a way to prevail through it. I'm a believer in the defense. I'm a believer in bringing over the coordinator. I'm a believer in bringing over John Mateer. And for all the shit going on about sports gambling, let me tell you this right now.
Come on!
NCAA took 2.5 years to finally discipline Michigan for cheating over a national title. Last I checked, games start next week. They aren't going to start and come to a conclusion on an investigation over a Venmo transfer that you can put any note on. John Mateer is going to play this year. He's going to be a Heisman finalist, and he's going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft.
Woo! Come on!
Are going to be dang good in a top-heavy playoff team this year in the SEC. Come on!
Oh, my God. I'm ready to strap him up. Golly, that got me ready, son. I love it. I'll respond to that. Few points that you mentioned. Defensively, like you said, Venables teams each year, defensive. I mean, it's not really a question. They keep them in games. And I think and I love this, the same thing with Utah and Coach Beck and Devin Dampier, bringing not just the quarterback as good as John Mateer is, but bringing the OC as well, adding a guy like Jay Knott at running back. They're, like you said, and I love this, they can beat you in so many different ways, whether that's shutting you out completely offensively, whether that's John Mateer taking over the game with his legs or throwing the football, or Jay Knott just pops off for 150 yards. There's so many different ways that they can beat you. And I think week 3, that's the game I highlighted for them against Michigan at home. I don't only think they win, but I think they win by 2 or more scores, and that is the highlighted game for Oklahoma. And whatever it is, week 6, when they play Texas in a neutral site, that game is going to be massive. So I'm really close to being all the way in. I think I'm going 8-4. I don't think it's playoff time yet, but I think Oklahoma's going to be damn sure better than they have the past few years, and a team that's making noise in November and December at the end of the year. So,
just going to throw this out there. John Mateer played 13 football games last year. How many do you think he played in front of more than 40,000 fans?
I don't give a shit.
Two of them. 2 games he played in front of more than 40,000 fans, and it was at Washington, and it was at – where's the other one at? Fresno State. He's about to play in an SEC schedule in front of so many damn people that are going to be loud as hell, no matter if he's at home or he's on the road. He is going to have so much damn pressure on him. He lost his last 4 games as a starter at Washington State. He's lost 4 games in a row as a starter, and now he's got to go face an even tougher challenge playing SEC defenses every week. I don't see a world where this guy is a Heisman finalist, let alone where he goes better than 6-6 as a starting quarterback in Oklahoma. He's not ready for an SEC defense. He's not ready for an SEC environment. He's just not. I don't see it. I hope that, I hope I'm wrong, and yeah, go underdog story. But there's just no way, man. They played in front of 40,000 twice last year. What's the smallest stadium in the SEC?
Well, the counter offer to that, looking at their schedule, they've got 4 total road games, and one of those is Temple, and that's the first one. Then they have at Carolina, at Tennessee, and a bye week before Bama at the end of the year. So it's not like, Tennessee and Bama and South Carolina, yes, very hard places to play, but at least they don't have 5 very hard road games. One of their road games is damn Temple. And I see your point there, but we could say that about a lot of things. We could say that about Arch Manning. He's got to go to Georgia this year.
He's been in that environment. He's been in an SEC school for 2 years.
But when Arch came in, he looked like a deer in headlights when he came in against Georgia last year, and that was at home.
That's what I was going to say.
So that's just my counterpoint.
No, this is not arguing. We're just conversating.
But you proved my point there. Arch came in even at home in front of an SEC crowd, and look like a deer in headlights. What the hell?
Who do
is
you
John-
have win the SEC this year?
Who do I have? Texas.
Exactly. So, like, you have Arch do it, like being good in these environments, like you're talking about. You have him going to Georgia. You have him come to Classic City, beating them freaking dogs. But John Mateer can't go to Williams-Brice and win on the road against Shane Beamer.
I don't
What?
think so. I don't think so. I don't think that they're going to be able to. I just don't.
Okay.
I don't see it happening.
Hey,
Set the ball down. Just let the boys play. Set the freaking ball.
one of us is going to look real smart, and one of us is going to look real dumb, or they're going to go 7-5 and 8-4, and we're going to meet in the middle, and it's going to be like, well, nobody wins.
Tyler, let's go out in the backyard and board drill after this.
Let's do it. I'm ready to go. Whatever you want.
Real fast, fellas, real fast. What do you have your respective surprise teams going? Because I don't think we touch up. I touch up on Ole Miss after this, but what do you guys have?
I have Ole Miss going 10-2. I'm not sure their win total. Maybe one of y'all can refresh me on that.
8.5.
8.5. Okay, I have them going 10-2. And to a little preview with the playoff episode, I got them making the playoff, making that 4th spot. And one more thing on OU, I'm going to ask this question, the same thing I did with Sam Pittman. Me and Hunter, obviously very high on Oklahoma right now, and Tyler's not. But Brent Venables is one of those coaches that he, like we talked about during 1st and 10, I brought up, he could be one of those coaches that's canned at the end of the year. What do y'all think is what does he have to do this season? What does Oklahoma have to be in order for him to earn another year in Norman?
I'm pretty sure that they have I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's top 5 hardest strength of schedule in the entire country. I'm pretty sure they're behind Florida and Wisconsin, so I think they're somewhere in the top 3, but I still think he's got to win 8 games. Oh, this is a blue blood program. Okay, they had Stoops. I'm forgetting the legendary coach. Is it Barry Switzer before Bob Stoops? Like this team has had nothing but success historically. They're tired of being in the middle of the road, especially after 2 years ago when they had Dylan Gabriel. They were a top 5 team halfway through the season, then kind of fell off. And then last year they got a 6-6 record, and 8 times out of 10 that they play Alabama, they probably lose, and they were 21.5-point dogs. So that was kind of lucky. I think he's going to have to win 8 games this year. The people in Norman don't put up with floating around 500. Sorry. But I think with the strength of schedule, he has to win at least 8.
Yeah, I think that's a good number, is 8 with the schedule itself. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Brent Venables going into his 4th season and just hasn't seen a ton of success. And they're Oklahoma fans, and they're not going to be able to put up with another 500 season, like you said, Hunter. And I have Oklahoma going 6-6, and I think Brent Venables is fired after the season. Jake, did you ask what we had our surprise teams going?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I have Arkansas going 6-6, but like I said, it's a surprise in the fact that everybody thinks they'll be under their win total, and I think that they can get past that. So,
yeah, I got Arkansas going 5-7, so I'm only 1 game off you. I really wanted to have them go 6-6, but just the way that the buttons clicked on the computer screen, they ended up 5-7, which I hate because I want Sam Pittman to go to a bowl game as last year and ride off into the sunset on his own terms. But I have them going 5-7. I've got Ole Miss going 9-3. Got more on them in a little bit.
I have Ole Miss going 10-2.
Yeah, that's not bad. And I got Oklahoma going 10-2. So
who do you have them losing to?
wow. Who are those 2 losses?
I have them losing to South Carolina on the road after they get Arch Manning's ass in the Red River Shootout. And I have them losing on the road at Alabama.
Nice. I like it.
That's my big surprise out of the SEC. I'm all in. I'm going to look real dumb or real smart at the end of this year. So
I have Oklahoma losing 5 games in a row.
that's the thing, Tyler, though. I'm not going to call you crazy for saying that. Like they could lose the Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee stretch and then lose to Bama the next week. Like very possible there. But I'm just super high on them, probably too high, but it's all good. Moving on, we got more teams to talk about. I know I said I had more on Ole Miss, but another team that we're going to talk more about Georgia later, I'm sure. So, Jake, I'm going to let you go first. We're not going to do a lot of Missouri talk. I'm very interested to hear your wild card team, the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, so I have Missouri, my wild card team, and for the wild card player, I put their offense. The reason for that is it's a completely revamped offense for Missouri through the transfer portal, built through the transfer portal. And if it works out, I think that Missouri has one of the easiest schedules. I mean, maybe y'all can pull this up as far as strength of schedule goes, but it's a very manageable SEC schedule. And if the offense works, their defense, you're bringing in seven returners and then 6 guys to the transfer portal who all started for their previous teams, all FBS teams last year. So I think Missouri's going to have a good defense. And if the offense works out with the schedule, I think that there's a potential that they can make that 3rd or 4th spot for the playoff in the SEC. But the reason I have them as my wild card, there's also a world where they go 6-6 because if the offense doesn't work out, it could be atrocious too. Like I said, it's all brand new. And if they're solid, I mean, it's just up in the air is what I got. And I got Missouri going 9-3. So, yeah, that's my wild card team.
Have y'all read anything about this quarterback battle that they have in Missouri right now?
I have. It's
I
very
thought it was
weird.
Prabula. Is that his name? Bo Prabula?
Yeah, Bo Prabula versus Sam Horn. Collins Hill, Swanee, Georgia legend was Travis Hunter's quarterback.
There's a third guy in the mix, Matt Zollers.
I have not heard about this one. I've just heard it's between Horn and Prabula.
Yeah, Zollers is a freshman they brought in, and they're really high on him, but I don't think he'll win the job, but they said that he was in the mix at some point.
Sam Horn also recently drafted by Los Angeles Dodgers.
He signed.
Yeah, he signed with them. He said after this year of football, he's off to the pros. Good for him. Get that bag. Anyways, Jake, I like what you had to say about Missouri. Dude, what a joke of a schedule this is. This is why the SEC needs a 9th conference game. I'm sorry. They do. I'm tired of the 8-game conference schedule. They don't play Texas. They don't play Georgia. They don't play LSU. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play Tennessee.
And they don't leave the state of Missouri until week.
And they don't play South Carolina.
They play South Carolina week 4.
Yeah.
Pardon. Yes, they do. Sorry. I actually have them winning that game. I was looking at
I do too. I got them going 5-0 going into Alabama week 7.
Yeah, me as well. I mean they play 5 straight home games, 5 weeks in a row. That Kansas game kind of sus. If Jalen Daniels is popping, I could see a Lance Leipold masterclass of outcoaching Elijah Drinkwitz. But Missouri and Kansas, I don't know if you two know this, a very, very bitter rivalry. I went up to Columbia, Missouri in the year of 2022 to watch them play against Georgia, and I saw more F Kansas chant or heard more F Kansas chants and bad blood between those two schools. So glad to see that they're playing again. I'm going to give the home team the advantage that early on in the season. I have Missouri going 7-5, right around that win total. However, I got to give them a very good wild card team, Jake. They with this schedule, they could easily win 10 games and just be a freaking SMU or Indiana type of team, just gets in based off schedule. Very likely. I got to give Drinkwitz credit. He's won double-digit games, the past 2 or 3 years. The biggest reason I'm low on them is because they had a senior Brady Cook and a third-year Luther Burden and played abysmal down the stretch. Anytime they played a team with a pulse, they looked terrible. And if they couldn't do that with their 2 best players and their leaders now gone, I think the defense will be fine, but I don't foresee them winning more than 8 or 9 games unless literally the schedule just plays out perfectly for them. But
Yeah.
I like your wild card team.
Yeah, and like I said, the offense has to work out. I mean, if it doesn't, it's going to be a disaster. And they do have an easy front half of the schedule with I mean, they have Kansas at home. I think they go to South Carolina. No, all their games are at home in the front.
They play 6 straight home games.
I have them actually beating Alabama in week 7. I got them starting out 6-0. Because Bama's coming off of Georgia on the road, followed by Vandy at home, and they can't lose to Vandy 2 years in a row. And then they got to go to Missouri, with Missouri coming off of a bye week. So I have Missouri starting out 6-0, 7-0. So
yeah, that's actually a very interesting game. I almost flipped a coin on it. I did give the edge to Alabama. I got Missouri starting out 5-0 though, and then they get that first road game. And now this also, if Auburn is not playing up to the standard and Hugh Freeze's seat is hot, this is a game that they can win. But your first road game on the road at Jordan-Hare, I hand them a loss. I actually got them losing to Vandy too. Back-to-back road spots.
Yeah.
Bye week. I think Texas A&M is going to beat them like a drum.
Yeah,
I have them beating Mississippi State and Arkansas at the end of the year. So,
good stuff.
Yeah, I've got them at 8-4. I think we all pretty much had the same prediction, losing to Bama, Vandy, A&M, and Oklahoma. I think Jake hit the nail on the head with the offense being the wild card for this team. I just think that they got to figure out their quarterback situation, 1, and 2, they lost most of their production, and that's always hard to recover from. So I think that they're an 8-4 team. You know, if they can take care of business against Vandy, maybe 9-3, but I don't know. I think it can go either way, and that's what's interesting about Missouri this year. I think you picked a good team for this category, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I'm going to hit on Ole Miss first because, like I said, I think we're going to have a lot of Georgia talk down the end of this stretch. I don't think we talk again about Ole Miss, so I'm going to go ahead and try and knock this out here. So I'm high-ish on the Rebels. There's a few people that are really high. Like I think Jake and Tyler both have them going 10-2, which I think is 100% a possibility. I went through their schedule, and there were so many games where I'm like, well, if it's clicking, they can win. But if it's, subpar, that defense isn't showing up, it's very losable. I think they could truthfully lose. They could lose to LSU. They could lose to who else I have them losing to? Wow, I only have them losing 3 games. They could beat Oklahoma. They could beat Georgia. They could lose to South Carolina. They could lose to Florida. There are so many different kind of outcomes. I think they are the most intriguing team in the SEC entering this year. And my wild card player for this team is the defense. They had 4 or 5 top 40 draft picks off that defense last year. That is so hard to replace. It's only a place like Georgia, a place like Alabama when Nick Saban was there, has been able to prove that, okay, we're going to reload. We can replace 5 top 40 draft picks. I haven't seen that out of Lane Kiffin, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The reason I don't have Austin Simmons or a wide receiver or an offensive player over here is because I'm never going to doubt a Lane Kiffin offense. I know at any given Saturday they could drop 50 points. What I don't know is how many points their defense might allow on the return of that. So with that being said, and with so many coin flip games, I have them as my wild card team. I see a scenario out there where they win 10 games. I see a scenario out there where they only win 7. I landed in the middle at 9-3.
Yeah, I like that. I got them at like you said, I have them at 10-2. But I think that, as you were saying, a lot of those games are coin flip games that they could very easily lose, or if my prediction is right, they win them, and they're 10-2 and they're in the playoff. It's all going to be dependent on the way that their defense comes out and plays. Like you said, and like I said with Missouri, losing a lot of production, that's hard to replace when you're not, like, as you were you mentioned, if you're not in Alabama, if you're not in LSU, if you're not in Ohio State or Georgia, it's hard to replace that production that you lose. And so I think that that's going to be their biggest question mark. And if they didn't replace it well, they could struggle. They could go, 8-4. But I think that I have faith in Lane Kiffin. I like him as a coach. I think that he'll be able to bring him to a 10-2 record.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Jake was saying earlier, like, this could have just been, or I said this earlier, it could be the year before the year. Like, when they don't have the expectations, like Jake was saying, this is when they show up and show their name. I just think they have, like, the most intriguing schedule because there's so many unknowns on the defense, and I think there's so much untapped potential that the national media has not seen about Austin Simmons. So, like, that week 5 game. Go ahead.
I was just saying that you could say that about the offense as a whole.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I was just saying, like, that week 5 game against LSU, I think is going to be massive. I think that's going to set the tone for, okay, this team can make the playoff. This team's going to be playing in December. That Georgia game on the road, what if Ole Miss is undefeated? What if they do beat LSU and they don't drop a fluke game? They beat Georgia last year. Going on the road to Athens, not easy. But this might be the toughest back-to-back spot. Maybe not the Tyler Vaughn, but in my eyes, on the road to Georgia, on the road to Oklahoma. Going on the road in the SEC twice against good competition is never easy. So I think that might be the two tough stretch. And then turn around, they get South Carolina, who they beat like a drum last year. Who says South Carolina and Lenore Sellis are clicking? And then they get Florida at home. If DJ Lagway's healthy, it might get ugly. I don't know. I have Ole Miss winning that game because it's at home. It's like a revenge spot. And then in the Egg Bowl, all bets are off, bro. I don't care if one team's 0-11 and the other one's 11-0. All bets are off. I just think it's such an intriguing schedule with so much unknown for the team.
Yeah. I'll clean things up on Ole Miss. And I know I already talked about them a little bit, but as far as, like, we're talking about the schedule a little bit, they need, I think, a big thing with this team is win the games you're supposed to. Last year you lost to Kentucky and Florida, both games you were supposed to win. And what do they look like when they play better teams or on the road against good caliber teams like Oklahoma, Georgia, and even like a game at home against LSU? What do they look like in close games, and how do they manage those? And is your defense something that's going to be able to keep you in games? Like Georgia, who has a stout defense going on the road, you got to be able to run the ball and play good defense in the SEC. And like 2 years ago when they came to Athens, they got boat raced. And that's because they relied on throwing the ball and wanted to get in a shootout with Georgia, and Georgia's defense was too good. So win the games you're supposed to and play good defense going on the road. That's two big things I got on this.
I like it, man. I like it. Okay, Tyler, I'm gonna let you choose. I'm gonna let you talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this short because
Let's keep it short because I know that this is
somebody else has got a little something they want to say. I'm sure.
Yeah, we know somebody on here that's he's gonna have a lot to say about.
I do know a guy. So, I do have Georgia as my wild card team. I think that. That is mainly because of the player that I have here, Gunnar Stockton. If he can come out and perform, I think that they can be a very good team. However, if he struggles, which a lot of people seem to think he might, then all bets are off, and they have potential to just absolutely implode. I mean, if he struggles, you could drop the Tennessee game. You probably drop the Alabama game. You could drop the game at Auburn. You could drop the Ole Miss game. That Florida game could be a trap game too, and then Texas could also be one if he struggles. Now, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I have Georgia going 10-2 and dropping the Alabama and Texas game. However, if Gunnar Stockton struggles, it could turn really disastrous here in Athens. So I think there is a lot riding on Gunnar Stockton's shoulders this year, and that's very clear. It's not even that's not a hot take whatsoever, but it's going to come down to, can he perform? Can he play? You know, the defense is going to be good. You know that they're going to have a good run game. You know that their offensive line is going to be good. It's whether or not Gunnar can control the game and make the throws he's supposed to. If he can't do those two things consistently, it could turn ugly. So that's simply why I have them as a wild card team. I don't think that they're going to be. I don't think it's going to get ugly, but it could.
You're on mute. I'm sure that was a hell of a
Sorry, my mouse died. Literally, the words that came out of my mouth were, Jake Stinchcomb, you're not allowed to say anything. You're going to get your time. All I was going to say was this, and we're moving on to the next slide, was I actually don't think Gunnar Stockton is the biggest wild card player on Georgia. I think it's the offensive line, personally. And not only do I think it's the biggest wild card on the team, I think it's the biggest wild card in the entire conference of the SEC. I believe that if the Georgia offensive line can produce like the old Georgia offensive lines from 21 and 22, everybody better just watch out because they're going to come.
Hold on. Let me stop you there, though. There's not going to be an offensive line that's going to be comparable to the 2021-2022 offensive line. Those were –
No, I'm not saying it was.
Best college offensive lines you're going to see. However, yes, there are question marks there. And if they do play well, and I think, I didn't really think about this too much, because I think when I think about Georgia, I think they're going to be dominant in the trenches. It is a question mark. And if they are not good, and Gunnar doesn't have time to make those throws, then who knows what happens. So I like that point. I like the offensive line point. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. And you brought up a good point that made me just think of another idea. Georgia's two biggest question marks on offense last year, wide receivers, obviously. We all know they led the country in drops, and it was abysmal. And then the offensive line. I think it was Kirby Smart's best coaching job last year. Like, the fact that they won the SEC championship and the state of the offense that it got to be at some of the lows of lows last year is phenomenal. However, they went and attacked the wide receiver problem in the transfer portal. They brought in Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas. They attacked that. They didn't go out and get a single offensive lineman in the transfer portal. They trust their process, and they believe in their development. So why I think it's the wild card team is that if it doesn't take that next step forward, it doesn't matter that you went out and got those guys at wide receiver. It won't matter, because he won't be able to get the ball to them as efficiently as they would like to see. But if it does take that next step forward, I think the question marks will get answered fast, and I think that makes Georgia the number one team in the conference, bar none. I think Georgia should be power rated higher than Texas, Alabama, if that offensive line is the real deal. Truthfully, I think they'll be the best team in the conference if the offensive line makes the jump. But if they don't, they're screwed. I think there's a possibility they can go 8-4. I think there's a possibility they can go 11-1. So I know we're gonna have more on. I'm
trying to be a part of the conversation. But one of the things about the offensive line, like y'all were talking about them making that jump and everything, a lot of the front five last year, we're only bringing back one starter, Mike Morris, I believe, is the only starter that we're returning. But with how much injuries we had up front last year and how many different rotations we had, guys plugged into different spots, everybody has experience. So I do think they're going to be able to make the jump and pave the way for Nate Frazier and give Gunnar Stockton time back there. But I think it's not being talked about enough, the key experience that all of these front five guys have gotten in various spots on the offensive line, if that makes sense. Because last year, it's just each week it was who's healthy and can play this week. It doesn't matter where we plug you in at. We just need five guys to block. So I think that's very valuable that all 5 of these guys are experienced in that sense, where they have had snaps and they're not just getting their first snaps coming up in a few weeks. So,
All right, fair enough. Good job, Jake. Disappointing teams for the SEC. Jake, I know we kind of just put you on a time limit there, so I want you to talk first about the Florida Gators.
all right. So, Florida, I have them as my disappointing team. I think there's a lot of talk around these 2 teams that you can see on the screen, Florida and South Carolina, and their quarterback, who they are. DJ Lagway, I think that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And I think that he has potential and everything physical is there. I mean, I think he's a great quarterback. He could have beat Georgia last year on his own if he didn't get hurt. I will admit that to any Florida fan. That is true. And I think this guy can be the best quarterback in college football, no doubt. Like, no doubt in my mind. But 2 things, his health all off season. It's like once every 2 weeks we get an alert that DJ Lagway strained this, has cramps here. I think there's too much questions around his health. And DJ Lagway, I'm going to say this is my hot take, I guess. I think DJ Lagway is going to be one of the biggest what could have beens in college football we ever see. And even in his pro career. I think too early on there's been too many injury questions, and that's going to set him back going over the next few years. I could be wrong. And so going off of that point, if DJ Lagway's hurt, like you said, Hunter, early on the episode, what does this team look like? Can they not necessarily miss a beat, but at least be a competent team and be able to win games? Because their schedule is brutal, and with all the questions around Lagway, and I just don't think they have a full team necessarily when it comes to, first of all, their coach. I don't think Billy Napier is a good coach, and I think this is the last year he coaches at the University of Florida. And John Gruden might be the head coach of the Florida Gators next year, boys. It might happen. But I got them going 7-5, and I just don't see – I see the hype around Lagway, and I am 100% believer in it if he's healthy. But what are there other points on this team that can elevate to that level, if that makes sense? And I don't think there are. So,
yeah, no. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I could have put this team as my wild card team, genuinely. And the wild card player, I could have just put an injury, an EMS van for DJ Lagway, because if this guy can stay healthy, there's just like Ole Miss. There's so many, like, gosh, I could see him winning this game, but I could also very easily see him losing. Like, when they go on the road to Miami, there's probably going to be more Florida fans there than Miami fans, if I had to guess. I could see Florida winning. I could see Miami winning. They get a bye week, and then they get to play Texas. It's going to be Arch Manning's first road start as a starting quarterback. Tell me that he doesn't poop down his leg a little bit when he gets into the swamp and Florida finds a way to eke one out if DJ Lagway's healthy. Going on the road to A&M, not easy. They get Mississippi State. Then they get the bye week before the cocktail party, which kind of getting some Quinn Ewers versus Alabama vibes. Just got injured at home, didn't get to finish the game. Alabama wins. But, man, if he would have stayed healthy, who's to say that they don't get the win? Not saying that Texas would have won that game, just like I'm not going to say, man, if DJ Lagway would have stayed healthy, they would have beat Georgia. I don't believe in that. Injuries are a part of the game. We don't know what the outcome would have been. However, who's to say that wasn't a very good possibility? It could have been. It could be this year. I got more on Georgia later. You know, going on the road to Kentucky, Kentucky's going to be pretty bad. But like you guys were mentioning earlier, you know, you got Georgia, then Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. You can't look ahead to Ole Miss on the road. You can't look ahead to Tennessee. Yeah. You can't get too banged up against Georgia, because who's to say Mark Stoops doesn't pull one out of his butt like he did against Ole Miss last year, you know? So just so many back and forths for me on this team. I ended up around their win total at 7-5. I was telling my buddy today, bro, I put a lot of money that DJ Lagway does not start all 12 games for Florida this year. And if he does, great. Watch out. The Gators could win 9 games if everything were to go right and to click for them. I truly believe that. I don't see them starting all 12 games. I think there's some tough road spots on a very tough schedule. I think 7-5, 8-4 are the 2 most likely outcomes for the Gators this year. Furthermore, I also don't believe in Billy Napier. So even if everything's going right, who's to say Billy Napier can coach his way out of multiple close SEC games? I don't think he can. So those are the 2 main reasons I've got Florida at 7-5. But I think 9-3 is a possibility. But I also think if DJ Lagway gets hurt and he's out for the year, 5-7 could be a possibility too.
Yeah. And I think with how the schedule lines up, this is something I thought about with Florida. If you look at each game under a microscope, like, yes, Florida can win this game. They can beat Texas at home. They can beat Georgia on a neutral site coming off of a bye. They could go on the road and beat LSU early on in the season. They could go on the road early in the season and beat Miami. But when you look at it from a big picture and how each of these games stack up next to each other, there's no room to look ahead to the next game, and they have to be 100% each week. And I think that's what's going to get them is like they're just not. I don't think you can play 9 perfect games. I think is really what the number you could say with their schedule. I mean, I'll run through their schedule real quick. You got Long Island and USF first 2 games, and then you go at LSU and at Miami back to back, 2 very hard road spots, and then a bye week. And then you have Texas at home. Then you go to Texas A&M, Mississippi State at home, then the bye, and then you close the season. Georgia at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, FSU. Like those last 5 games, Georgia at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, FSU. I can see each of those games individually. I could see them winning all 5. But then when they're stacked up next to each other, and 3 of those are away games, if you count Georgia being a road game for them since it's a neutral site, I just don't see it happening. So I got them going 7-5. Wouldn't be surprised if they went 6-6. Tyler, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add on top of Florida.
Yeah, I'll add this. I think that I have them going 6-6. I also think they're a disappointing team this year. I think that y'all's analysis of DJ Lagway, if he can stay healthy, yeah, it could be good. However, like you were saying, Jake, they have a lot of games that are like back to back where they're going to go through a really rough patch in the middle of the season. I think they dropped the LSU game, possibly dropped that Miami game, dropped the Texas game. Texas A&M is going to be a tough game to play in. You're going to Kyle Field. I mean, if you lose 4 straight in the middle of the season, what does that set you up for? Nothing. I mean, you're going to be down in the dumps, and then you got to play Georgia. Then you got to go to Ole Miss, and then you got to host Tennessee. It's just –
It almost seems like it's not like doable. Like, yes, it's good. And if Lagway's healthy all 12 games, great. But they're not Texas. They're not Georgia. They're not Alabama. They don't have the team, the talent, and the coach to manage this schedule and win 9 or 10 games and be in contention for the SEC. I just don't think it's doable, manageable, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a recipe for disaster. I think that, it sucks for Billy Napier that he has to play this schedule every year, especially a year where he's on the hot seat, that he has to go through this. Like, that sucks. I feel bad for the guy, but shit, Florida has, you could argue, has been pretty much a blue blood team for at least in the 2000s. In our lifetimes, you've seen Florida to the top. You've seen them bad, but you've seen them be pretty good a lot of the time. And it just sucks for Billy Napier that he came in and took the program in a situation where they weren't really set up for
success. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think he has good intentions. I think that he, could be good, but the situation he took over, man, that is rough. Florida used to be in that running for like DBU. Their secondary is not good anymore. They've transitioned to, we're going to have a good offensive line and we're going to have a good front 7 on the defensive side, but that's not what their identity has always been. They've always been a fast team that was going to play very good in the secondary, and they weren't going to let you throw the ball on them. But they were going to throw the ball on you because they had quick playmakers on the outside. They just don't have that anymore. Everything has changed so much, and if they don't have an identity. It's
Yeah.
hard to win a lot of games when you don't have an identity. And
Like, I love that point. I love that a lot about Florida. Like, if you ask a Florida fan or anybody, like, what is Florida's identity? All you can really say about their identity right now is DJ Lagway. Like, that's our guy. He's the X factor. We don't have him. We're screwed. So is that running the ball? Is that hoping that he can throw the ball 40, 50 times a game and winning? Is that winning in the trenches? That's a good – I love you bringing that point up. It's Billy Napier doesn't have that established yet, and this is year, what, 3 or 4?
I think 4, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, good stuff on Florida there. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that was a great point. I love that. So I think Hunter hadn't talked about his yet. We'll wait till he gets back. Florida Gators, I got them going 7-5. I think we're all around that 7-5 mark. I'm not sure of their win total. So, Tyler, on to you. I can't wait to hear this. Disappointing team. Talk to me about the Oklahoma Sooners and why you have them as a disappointing. And I promise that me and Hunter will not glaze them when we're done because we've already done our glazing for the night.
I'm going to keep this short. I mean, I've already talked about how I feel about Oklahoma. I think that John Mateer is going to struggle. Look, I hope the guy comes in there and does great things. That would be cool to watch. But I don't think that's how it's going to play. I do think that they get Michigan in week 2. I think they win that game. I think the Auburn game's a toss-up. I think that they lose to Texas. I think that they lose to Ole Miss. They lose to Tennessee. They lose to Alabama. They lose to LSU. Those are just really good football teams, and they're coming off of a 6-6 season where they didn't play very well. John Mateer is going to have to come in, and the expectations are so damn high for this guy. And he is, we're going to see him in New York at the end of the season. Like, shit, if you're coming from Washington State to an SEC program and people are saying you have the potential to be in the Heisman race right away, that's so much pressure. And, that mounted pressure on top of playing in an SEC schedule, that's tough. That's tough to do. I don't care who the hell you are. That's tough. So yeah, I know that you guys don't agree with me on this, and we'll see who's correct, and maybe it's neither of us. But I think that they are a 6-6 team, and it's disappointing because everybody's so high on John Mateer, and everybody thinks that he's going to be this, this god of college football this year. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. So I have them having a disappointing season, and Brent Venables is probably on his way out.
Tyler, I just want to let you know I respect your opinion.
Yeah, that's love.
I promise, while you were gone, I promised that me and you wouldn't do any Oklahoma glazing. I would let him have his moment about his disappointing team. He deserves it. And we'll go from there. So
there you go. Absolutely. I already did my Oklahoma glazing, so we're good. Got that out of the way. Haven't done all my John Mateer.
What did Liam say about Oklahoma?
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
What did Liam Butman say about Oklahoma? That's what I want to know.
I'm going to be honest. I really don't know off the top of my head, like genuinely.
I think he really loved them, though.
I think he did like them, but I think he liked Missouri more just based off strength of schedule.
Interesting.
He's him and Brandon Walker, big schedule guys. However, yeah, I'm done with my team glazing. I will have one more John Mateer segment. My disappointing team, the South Carolina Gamecocks. I think that Lenore Sellers is good. I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the SEC entering the season. Top 2, probably, arguably. He's lightning in a bottle. He can make a play happen with his feet. He's electric. I need to see a little bit more with the arm personally, just personal. Not saying it's not there, not saying he can't solidify himself as a top 3 NFL draft pick. What I am saying is that wide receiver room is going to have to show it to me. It's one thing to have the guy to get the ball to receivers. It's another thing for the guy to actually have receivers to throw to. So I'm skeptical on the receivers. I'm skeptical on running back. Your entire rush game cannot just be Lenore Sellers. You lost Rocket Sanders. I need to see a running back emerge and to be complementary to Lenore Sellers. And furthermore, yes, you got Dylan Stewart, who was first team freshman, first team All-American as a true freshman. The guy is legit. I think he's a great edge rusher. There's 11 guys that play on defense. You can't, and they lost so many good defensive pieces to the draft last year. I don't see a world where one edge rusher can carry an entire defense to these lofty expectations from the media, I say, about South Carolina. I mean, this was the team last year. Oh, South Carolina needs to be in the playoff. They need to be in the playoff. Like, they proved it. Like, do you see how they're playing at the end of the year? And then going into this year, it's kind of died down a little bit, to people's credit. But, South Carolina, team to watch. Team to watch. They could play for the SEC. It's that, like I said, it's died down a lot since, right after last season and heading into the end of the year last year. But, like, bro, y'all literally lost to Illinois with the team that y'all have entering this year. Y'all lost to Illinois, who won like 7-1 score games last year. I think South Carolina is due for regression. I don't think they live up to the 9-10 win season that everybody wants them to be. They want them to be some sort of darling. I don't see it. I do think they beat Virginia Tech in Atlanta. They get South Carolina State and Vandy both at home, should be wins. As previously mentioned, got them dropping it to Missouri. I think they'll beat Kentucky. And then they have like the hardest 4-week stretch of a schedule, one of in the entire conference.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I know we talked about Florida's schedule, Oklahoma's schedule. This South Carolina 4-week stretch is probably the most brutal one. On the road at LSU, Oklahoma at home, Alabama at home, Ole Miss on the road. If you go 2-2 in that stretch, I say that's a win. And ironically, I have them going 2-2 in that stretch. I have them winning both their home games against Oklahoma and Alabama, and I got them losing their 2 road games against LSU and Ole Miss. I think it's very likely they can go 1-3 in that stretch. I think they're too good to lose all 4 of those games, but there is a world where they win 3 of them, but I think 2-2 is the most likely. Then you have to hit the road to Texas A&M. Never easy. Then you get the cherry on top. You get Clemson at the end of the year. And if you watch our ACC preview, all of us are very high on Clemson, as is the national media. Hard not to be. But I say all that to say I think South Carolina goes 7-5 this year. I think they will just underachieve what people originally had them as their expectations heading into 2025.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Hunter. I kind of have them as a disappointing team as well. If you're going off record, I mean, I have them going 8-4, missing the playoff, and I feel like that's a disappointment in a lot of people's eyes. Like you said, when it comes to all the hype around South Carolina in the offseason, that 4-game stretch, I think there's potential. Like you said, they go 3-1 or 2-2, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went 0-4. That's a very brutal stretch. No bye weeks, 2 very hard road games. Lenora Sellers, he's that guy. I think he's amazing on mobility. He's an athlete, but I think his passing game needs to take a step up this year, especially as far as being a pocket passer rather than making a throw outside of the pocket on his legs. Can he sit in the pocket for 3 seconds and make a throw while he's getting pounded by an SEC defensive lineman? I feel like we didn't see a lot of that last year. There's a lot of him getting out of the pocket. So I want to see what he looks like as a passer, a pure passer, rather than just all of the flashy plays that he makes. I got him going 8-4. I think you had him going 7-5. I just don't think there's enough around him. I do think Dylan Stewart is one of the best pass defensive players in the country, if not the best, and he's going to be a top 5 defensive pick in the next few years. Their defense is going to keep them in games. I don't think Shane Beamer's a good enough of a coach to win 10 games with his schedule. And what does everybody around Lenora Sellers look like? So a lot of excitement out there for sure. I know their fans are freaking pumped. South Carolina's finally relevant, and I think they're going to play spoiler a little bit with their schedule, but I agree with you having them down as a disappointing team.
So I don't remember who said what, but one of you has 8-4, one of you has 7-5. I have 6-6. I think they start off the season 4-1. I think they dropped the game against Missouri. And then they start the gauntlet where they play LSU, they play Oklahoma, they play Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and then they wrap up the season against Clemson. I have them dropping the game against LSU, dropping the game against Alabama, losing to Ole Miss, losing to Texas A&M, and losing to Clemson. I think it just turns into a disaster late in the season.
Of course, you can beat Oklahoma.
I do, because I don't think we've already been over this. I don't have Oklahoma being good. Sorry about it.
I'm just messing with you.
I got him beating Oklahoma too, and I'm glazing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler. I had to say that.
Yeah, I know. He kind of had to do that.
Anyways, like I was saying, I just think that there's just this schedule is tough. I think that they've got to put a lot of things together. They have the pieces. I just don't know if they'll be able to put it together. And clearly, I don't think so. I've got them going 6-6. So I agree. I think that they're also a very disappointing team. I had all three of the teams that we have in this category all going 6-6 and being disappointing. So I think we all hit the nail on the head here.
Parlay that together.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I didn't really mention this to you guys beforehand, but we have like a bunch of teams that we haven't talked about yet. So before we get to the heavy hitters, I'd like to discuss some of those teams, if that's okay with you. Teams like Texas A&M, Tennessee, Auburn, Vandy even. We nobody's really touched up on those teams, and they're not going to be talked about in the conference championship and top tier slides. So I'm going to kind of just let you guys, Jake, you run with it. I'll let you run with whoever you want, but I would like to talk a little bit about A&M, Tennessee, Auburn, and a little bit of Vandy.
Yeah, I'll start, and I'll keep it short and let you guys kind of piggyback off me. I was talking about this pre-show. I feel like every year I fall into, even when Jimbo Fisher was there, I fall into the Texas A&M thing every year. And I'm always just sitting there looking at it, just staring at it. Like, y'all are so pretty out there at Kyle Field. Like, I love Texas A&M. I don't know why. And I'm always attracted to him. And last year I was attracted to Marcel Reed preseason. And even before Connor Wegman came up, I had him in my playoff last year. Now Marcel Reed's back. Le'Veon Moss is one of the most underrated backs in the country. Mike Elko's a great coach. I'm a huge fan. His defense is good. Kyle Field is awesome. And I think it's the exact same. Like, I think A&M's like storyline this year is the exact same thing as last year, where they're going to be 9-2 going into week 12, and it's going to be college game day is going to be at Texas for the Texas A&M game, and that's going to be like Georgia. Right as it stands right now, we are Texas's daddy. Okay, Texas is Texas A&M's daddy right now. That's going to be the hump they have to get over. If Texas A&M wants to make the playoff or like take a step forward in the right direction, they got to beat Texas. Or I think I messed that up. Yeah, Texas A&M, they have to beat Texas. In order for Texas to do something, I think they have to beat Georgia. They got to do it. It's like they got to get that monkey off their back. I think I got Texas A&M going 9-3. I don't think that they win on the road at Texas week 12, but I think they are. This could change for me very early on in the season if Marcel Reed has taken a step forward with Le'Veon Moss, and they got one of the best playmakers in the country, KC Concepcion, and their Texas A&M, Mike Elko is always going to have a good defense. This could be a playoff team. I have them like just outside of the playoff bubble right now. They go to Notre Dame very early on in the season, and there's 3 big games: LSU, Notre Dame, and Texas. I think I got them going 1-2 right now in that stretch. Or no, let's see. I got them going, 0-3 in that stretch. But if they win one of those, there is a high possibility that Texas A&M goes 10-2 and makes playoff. I truly believe that, and I think they have the pieces to do so. They just didn't make my categories, and it was between them and Ole Miss as my last spot for the SEC. But subject to change. I'm very high on the Aggies. I don't know what y'all got to say about that.
I've got them going 8-4. I think they dropped the game to Notre Dame. I think I think Arkansas pulls off a win there and beats them. I think that they lose to LSU and they lose to Texas. I think the Texas A&M game is on Black Friday this year. So I guess game day won't be there.
I'll be watching it.
It'll be Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah. But regardless, I think they lose that game. And like you were saying, I think that, they're a very very attractive team. They look the part, but can they play the part? And I just don't foresee that happening to the extent of them making the playoff. I think it's, like you said, same narrative. They're going to look pretty. It's going to come down to the end of the season. They're going to have a shot at it, and it's just not going to happen. And they're
such a shitty draw too. Like, you got to go on the road to the the national runner-up last year. You got to go on the road to the hypest team in the country with the best quarterback in the country who's going to be a top 3 draft pick and have a great NFL career in one of the hardest places to play. And then you got to go on the road to the preseason favorite to win the national championship. That's 3 extreme, like, they are spaced out, but 3 extremely hard road games. And I'm going to do something crazy here. I'm falling right back into it. Give me Texas A&M to beat Notre Dame, and that be their marquee win. That be their marquee win. I got A&M going 10-2. I've officially script.
Jake, their
I
nickname.
don't talk about this to anybody, and now that I'm talking about it out loud, give me Mike Elko and the boys to go.
Their nickname.
Notre Dame.
Their nickname is literally Texas 8-4. You could literally put an 8 and a 4 on the side of that T, and it'd be the same logo that they have. Ironically, I have them going 9-3.
Jake might be trying to holler at Casey Smith, talking about A&M.
I'd holler at Casey Smith.
Did Hunter just bark? What was that?
Oh God. Anyways, Jake, you had the narrative right. You had it right. I have Texas A&M 9-2 with the chance to play in the playoff, potentially the SEC championship based off tiebreakers if they just beat Texas. And they're going to roll the DKR and lose again. However, I also have them beating Notre Dame and losing to Arkansas like Mr. Vaughn.
Oh, my gosh.
Notre Dame always loses a home game every year, whether it be frickin' Marshall, NIU, whatever. Marcus Freeman somehow always finds a way to lose a road game. And I think when you have returning production on both sides of the ball for A&M versus a questionable quarterback who we don't know a lot about, whether it's Carr or the other kid at Notre Dame, I like A&M on the road. And then they finally have to play Arkansas on a home field and not a stupid neutral site in Jerry's World, and they're going to lose. It's going to be Sam Pittman's like, I'm going out on my high horse type of game. And then it's downhill for the Razorbacks from there. Back-to-back road spots, though, against a rival and then against LSU. They dropped both of them. They're 9-2. All they got to do is beat Texas. I don't think they do it. I need to see more with the arm for Marcel Reed, but they're going to be a good team. Enough about A&M, and I'm not going to put up with Jake's 10-2 thing, just falling into the same trap. I used to do it too. Let's talk a little bit about the Tennessee Volunteers, who I'm going to say with confidence, my favorite win total is the Tennessee under 8.5 in the SEC. There is no chance they win 9 games. G5 Joey struggled against, or Joey Aguilar for those listening who don't know who G5 Joey is. This is the starting quarterback for Tennessee. This guy struggled against the Sun Belt. I, as a Georgia Southern alum now, saw how piss poor that defense was that we put out onto the field last year. And he struggled year in and year out to beat Sunbelt teams. Now, they did have, App State. This is where he came from, had a good year there. I think he would have done fine in the Big Ten at UCLA. Then, they hit him with the good old trade, Nico for Joey Aguilar. I'd rather have Nico, just to be quite frank. I think there's just no way that Tennessee wins 9 games with this schedule. You try and tell me Fran Brown and Steve Angeli can't beat Tennessee in Atlanta week 1. It's Syracuse. I don't think they will, but I think it's going to be closer than what people expect. You lose Dylan Sampson. You lose James Pierce off the edge. I think there's just too much to replace this year. There's no chance Tennessee wins 8 games, or more than 8 games, I should say. I think they lose to Georgia. Josh Heupel has done nothing but piss down his pants against Kirby Smart every time he's taken the field with him. I think that third Saturday in November, Kalen DeBoer is going to get his. He ain't losing to Tennessee 2 years in a row, not at home. And then we all know how I feel about Oklahoma. I think they go on the road and beat Tennessee. I'm not going to get Tyler fired up. And then I think Billy Napier whoops that ass in the swamp. And don't be surprised if Diego Pavia gets them either. 8-4, 7-5, Tennessee.
Yeah, so I got to go 9-3.
Sorry, man.
I'll let you go.
That's like the one thing I get the most fired up about is stupid Tennessee fans. They are the worst. They are the worst. And like they have the potential to be such a likable team. But those fans kill it for me. And I genuinely do think, taking all that out, I don't think Joey Aguilar is going to generate enough success. You lose the best running back in the conference last year. You're losing some key pieces off defense. I think there's just too many losable games on here. And let me guess, Tyler, the difference between my 8-4 and your 9-3 is that they beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hunter. I don't think that they're going to win 9 games. But counterpoint here, I think this is a very manageable schedule. Syracuse, I mean, they're 13.5-point favorites in that game week 1. I think they win that. Then they play ETSU week 2. I think they win that. And then I was in Knoxville 2 years ago. I've been to that stadium, and that is the loudest environment I've ever been at. I thought when they had the house call first play, I thought that me and my dad were going to get ran out of that stadium. It was freaking rowdy.
Jalen Wright,
good pull. Gunnar Stockton's first road start is going to be in Neyland. And in the past, Georgia, we have historically the past couple of years dominated Tennessee. But I think they have an offensive line and defensive front, even without James Pierce, that can play to our physical level. And I think that they're going to load the box and make Gunnar Stockton throw it, make Gunnar Stockton beat them. Can he do that? I don't know. But I think that's a winnable game for Tennessee. I really do. Josh Heupel's always going to have a good run game. Yeah, they lost Dylan Sampson, but he's a coach who's always going to have a running back who's just a very good running back every year, it seems like. And I think that he'll find his guy. I think they have several in the mix right now. But let's say they do beat Georgia. Then they play UAB 4-0. Then they go to Mississippi State. Should win that one. Winnable football game. Then they get a bye week before Arkansas at home. Should win that one. Then they go to Alabama. Okay, let's say they drop their first one. But think about the big hype around that game. Both teams have been undefeated. Then they got on the road at Kentucky. Then they get Oklahoma at home. New Mexico State, they play in the swamp, and Florida will be in the middle of that 4 to 5 game stretch at the end of their season where they're playing everybody and their mama in the top 10. And then finish the season with Vandy at home. I wouldn't be surprised if they went 10-2 at all. I think it's one of the more manageable schedules in the SEC. I think Josh Heupel's a good coach. And
you obviously just don't know Sunbelt ball.
It's another feeling for me. I guess I don't know Sunbelt ball. I apologize.
No, nobody knows Sunbelt ball.
I think Tennessee, I feel like when expectations have been high the past few years, haven't lived up to them. Now expectations are low. Nobody's talking about Tennessee. They don't have a quarterback. They're showing videos of the receivers dropping passes. Sneaky team. I will not be probably wagering on any of their games this year. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they went 10-2. Huh?
How many teams you got going 10-2? How many teams you going to look at their schedule and flip your mind on their record to 10-2?
How many teams y'all going to have going 7-5? I feel like every team we've talked about, y'all got going. Don't come at me. Don't start that shit.
I have 0 teams going 7-5.
I've got 4.
Well, there you go.
I have 5 going 6-6 though.
That's great. So yeah, that's what I got on Tennessee. Tyler, you got anything on there?
Yeah, Tyler, any big hitters on Tennessee?
No, I think they'll beat the old Sooners. and they'll go 9-3 and just have that quietly decent season. I don't think they're going to be in the run for the playoffs necessarily, but I think that Tennessee's going to be Tennessee. They're going to play decent ball throughout the year. They'll win the games they're supposed to win. Neyland's tough to play in. I think that they win. I have them going 6-1 at home. Their only loss being to
Georgia.
Yeah, that would be it. I think that they're Tennessee will be Tennessee. They'll be good when they're supposed to be, and they'll struggle in the games that they're supposed to struggle in, and that they historically struggle in, like the game against Florida. So 9-3, quiet year for Tennessee. I don't think that they have too much going on, to be honest with you.
Good stuff.
I got you. Yeah. All right. Last team there's one more, I guess, but last big name team, bigger name brand in the SEC that we need to discuss before getting into our last tier. The Auburn Tigers. Now, this is a team that you could get lost in some Kool-Aid on now. You stick too much time around CBS Sports, brother. You're going to be drinking that War Eagle Kool-Aid and have them going 10-2. Like, well, let's calm down now. What you know about Cam Coleman? Dude, Jackson Arnold won the Elite 11 coming out of high school? Like, they get you feeling it. However, I think this is – I can't, man. I can't. I got to see it to believe it. Jake, I'm going to hit you with your own question. How many games has Hugh Freeze got to win to keep his job?
I'll say 8. But I also am one who has Hugh Freeze. I have him beating Georgia this year, and I have him beating Bama. And I think if he wins one of those at home, I think his job's safe, regardless of record.
I think that Georgia game is such a winnable game. It's such a winnable game.
100. And as a Georgia fan, that is the game that I'm most scared about going into this season. No doubt in my mind, like I have full belief that we're going to drop that game. It's a night game already decided in Jordan-Hare. Auburn's coming off of a bye. I think that Hugh Freeze gets Kirby in that one. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but I got Auburn going 9-3. Like I said, I have them beating Bama, beating Georgia. I do have them dropping to Baylor week 1. I think Baylor wins that. SEC struggled in out of conference games as of late. So very intriguing offense. Jackson Arnold, Cam Coleman. They're going to throw the ball around the yard. They're going to put up points. I'm excited to watch it. So,
yeah, I've got them floating around that 7-5, 8-4. I think they'll do a little bit better than 6-6, but I don't see them winning 10 games. Like, there's a world out there where they can win 9 if everything goes correctly. But I'm going to keep it modest here and say 7-5, 8-4. Most likely outcomes for them. But, like, you look at that schedule, it's like, yeah, we got better guys than Baylor. But, like, I personally have Baylor winning that game because it's at home. But, like, Auburn can go in there and win that game. Ball State, South Alabama. And they have to go on the road to Oklahoma. Yes, Tyler, it's a winnable game.
I have Oklahoma winning that one.
Yeah, I do too, obviously. But it is a winnable game for Auburn. That's the point I'm trying to make. But back-to-back road games against Oklahoma and Texas A&M, there's no way they go 2-0 in that stretch. Then they get the bye, and then they get Georgia, which is such a winnable game that I think they have a good chance at winning. I'm not ready to really make a prediction on that yet. I think they beat Missouri at home. I think this is Missouri's first true road game. So I think they get the win there. I have them beating Arkansas. I have them beating Kentucky. It's like Missouri at home, Arkansas. Oh, we get Kentucky. Then we just got to go to Vandy. And then we got Mercer. And it's like, holy shit, this team could be 9-2 going into the last week of the season.
Let me put this out there. Would you be surprised if I told you it's December and Auburn is 10-1 going into the Bama game. Jackson Arnold is like being talked about as a Heisman final. Like, what if it clicks? What if it clicks with Jackson Arnold and like Hugh Freeze? Like they just have to score points there in every game because they put up 40 points a game, and Arnold's throwing for 350 a game.
Bro, even if Arnold goes down, they got the best backup in the conference. My
Damn
boy,
right.
Ashton Daniels, my guy. Shout out. Anyway, but then they get Bama at home and throw the records out. Anything happens at night, Jordan Hare.
Yep.
It's just like if they just get like one or two of these coin flip games to go their way and then like sneak one past Georgia and take care of business against these lower level teams, it's like, God dang, Auburn's there.
Yep.
But I don't believe in Hugh Freeze to that extent. I got to see it out of Jackson Arnold. I need to see somebody fill in for Jarquez Hunter, who was not just a great running back, but a great leader for that offense last year. Yes, they got Cam Coleman. They got some other good dudes. I think the defense will do. Yeah, they did get Eric Singleton.
Yeah.
Yes. But I don't know. I think 8-4, 7-5 is the most likely outcome for them. That's where I got them sitting at. But blink your eyes, bro. They might be 9-2 heading into Jordan Hare against Alabama that last week of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, I got them at 6-6. I think they dropped 5 in a row in the middle of the year. I think they lose to Oklahoma, A&M, Georgia, Missouri, and Arkansas all in that stretch. I think that they can bounce back against Kentucky and then beat Vandy and beat Mercer. And I think that Alabama absolutely thraxes their ass and just smokes them. I mean, let's quit. This is the same thing with John Mateer. Quit giving Jackson Arnold all this credit.
No, I'm not.
This isn't to you guys. This is to anybody. I've read a lot that Jackson Arnold has the potential to be good and all this stuff. Let's be real, man. What did he do? What has he done to make everybody think he's going to be great? Win the Elite 11? I mean, let's quit that narrative. I'm tired of the narrative for quarterbacks that they're going to be good when they have proved absolutely nothing. I don't love the narrative that Arch Manning's going to be good. Yeah, I do think he will be, but I don't. I'm not going to sit here and sell myself on that. But I think Auburn goes 6-6, and it's another Auburn year, kind of like history tending to repeat itself.
Yeah, that's right. That's the man's quote right there. Need to put it on a T-shirt.
Come on.
So, yeah. All right, I think that's it. Is that anybody else got anything on Auburn?
That's it for me.
I don't have shit to say about Vandy except for Diego Pavia will find his way to a bowl game this year. That's all I got. He'll find a way.
All right.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we talked about Diego Pavia. Hard to talk about the SEC without him. He made such an impact on it last year.
Yep.
All right, fellas. It's time. If I could get the correct slide up. All right.
I'll go first.
Oh, Jake, go first. Oh, he's been waiting for an hour and 40 minutes. He's been waiting so damn long. It's only fair that we let him go first. It's going to make it to the 2-hour mark on this one.
So I have my title game as Georgia and LSU. I have Georgia winning the SEC and my player of the year in the SEC being Garrett Nussmeier. I'll start with that. I think Garrett Nussmeier is one of the best 3 players in the country going into this year. It's huge that they got him back, and he's the reason that they're being talked about as a national title team this year. I think he's going to have a great NFL career, and he's going to be in New York in December or January, whenever the Heisman ceremony is. This was one of the hard, and I know that y'all both can agree with me, this was so hard to decide who's going to be there because you go through these schedules. You do one team schedule. All right, let's say I got them going 10-2. You do another one, you got them going 11-1, and then you got to do the SEC standings and decide who's going to get there. And then when you finally do it based on the numbers or the records and who's supposed to be there, based on what you put on your schedule, it's like, Well, I don't want X, Y, and Z to be playing each other. I want these two teams. So that's what makes it hard about the SEC picking the title game. And I think that there's truly probably 7 to 8 teams that can be there. It could be any of them. And we kind of have some different teams in this, which is good. Georgia, I haven't really got to say much on them. And I'll keep it short. I'm not going to go off on some tangent like I usually have in the past. But Kirby Smart came out a few weeks ago and said that we're going to do 2 things. We're going to stop the run, and we're going to run the ball. And that's all I needed to hear to get me all the way back in. Georgia is historically known to be able to run the ball, and Nate Frazier coming back this year, fully healthy. We have guys like Roderick Robinson coming back, has very good experience, very valuable experience. Bo Walker, guys like that. And a new offensive line, not very much so new faces, but it's going to be an offensive line that we see the same 5 every week, assuming that everybody is healthy. And Kirby and Mike Bobo took the time to solo that out this offseason. We have to be able to run the football, because when we're not, like last year, that screwed us because we had the worst receivers in college football, like literally, when we led the country in drops. Georgia, they're gonna establish the run. I think it's Kirby Smart's conference, and we're all just living in it. Everybody else is just living in it. He's been there every year. Hunter said this before the show. Last year was his best coaching job. I mean, everybody talks about Georgia last year as a disappointment because of how bad the offense was. Carson Beck sucked. The receivers were bad. We couldn't run the ball. Georgia went to the SEC championship and won the hardest conference to win. And they did it and that's just not talked about enough. And now when you have a fully healthy offensive line, you have a quarterback who, yes, a lot of people are on the fence about Gunnar Stockton, but this team's bought into him. Every single person on that football team, regardless of what side of the ball they play on, they're bought into Gunnar Stockton. He's a locker room guy. And based on what I've read, I think he's stepped up as a leader this offseason, and he's just got to be able to manage the football game. And in the past, Kirby, I mean, we've seen it. Kirby's, if he doesn't have a X factor quarterback, we've never really have. I mean, Stetson year 1, he just be a game manager. Jake Fromm, game manager. Look what those 2 guys did for Georgia. If Gunnar, and just adding that ability to run with his legs too, I think that's big. Going to the defensive side of the ball, he said we're going to stop the run. And that's because he believes in guys like Jonel Aguero in the secondary, Dalen Everett, KJ Bolden, Ja'Cory Thomas, Daniel Harris, Ellis Robinson. This defense is going to be sicko in the defensive line. Like, he's saying, we're not going to stack the box. We're going to stack the box. I think this is what he means by it. And because we believe in our secondary that we're that damn good in the secondary that you're just not going to be able to run the ball on us, because in the SEC, the one thing you have to do to be good in this conference is run the football. And I love that he is taking those 2 keys. That's like the theme of the season that I'm going to just go off of all season. Stop the run the football. And when it comes to playing LSU in Atlanta in December, you mean to tell me that you think Brian Kelly and LSU is going to dominate Georgia in the trenches in Atlanta? Hell no. Give me the Dogs to win the SEC over the LSU Tigers. That's all I got.
Good stuff, man. I'm going to go over. Oh, hang on. It would probably help if I put the mic next to my face. So, good stuff. How much did you cover on LSU? I'm not exactly sure.
Not much. I was going to let you or Tyler do that. Garrett, that's the best player in the country.
No problem. I have no problem being a hypocrite when it comes to college football. My biggest hypocritical move is that I'm so high on LSU, or so high on Penn State this year, yet I think LSU is going to underachieve. So why do I think that? Well, it's hypocritical for me to say that because I'm like, oh, I really like Penn State. I think this is the year that James Franklin gets it done. Whereas on the flip side of that coin, I'm like, no, LSU has Brian Kelly. Of course they're not going to get it done. It's hypocritical, but that is where I stand. I do think Garrett Nussmeier is a great quarterback. He's going to be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick. As long as he can stay healthy, we'll see. Man, could you imagine Garrett Nussmeier going down for whatever reason? Lord, I hope that doesn't happen. The sport will be better if he's healthy and plays this year.
Yep.
Could you imagine if Garrett Nussmeier went down and then like Bryce Underwood's tearing it up at Michigan? Ooh, That would sting. That would sting for the Tigers. Speaking of Tigers, I got them losing to the Tigers of Clemson in week 1. I think they go on a nice stretch here against Louisiana Tech, Florida, Southeast Louisiana, and LSU or Ole Miss. I think they win all those games. I think they get off the bye. They get South Carolina at home, go to Vandy. They get A&M at home, all wins. Another bye week. I got them losing to Alabama, who I'll jump more into in a little bit. I got them beating Arkansas, Western Kentucky. And so, Jake, I've got the most Brian Kelly scenario dialed up here in my predictions. I've got LSU sitting at 9-2, entering the final week of the season. They got to go on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, and you know who I got winning that game. The Sooners not only punch their ticket, but they also steal Brian Kelly's. They steal Garrett Nussmeier's. Those are I think LSU is going to be a great team. I think they could easily make the college football playoff in all reality. But I do think 9-3. I'm just a little bit lower on them than some others. Yeah, I mean, my biggest question mark for LSU is the offensive line. They lose their captain, Will Campbell. There's a chance they could play better as a unit, maybe not have the individual star power that they did at the tackles and do a little bit better. But we'll see. That's just my biggest question mark with them is to the offensive team. But I think they're going to be a great team. Could easily make the playoff, could easily make the SEC championship game. However, just not my scenario that I have predicted here. Tyler, any thoughts? You got LSU in your SEC title game. So let's hear what you guys say about the Tigers.
Nobody is very strong on like really any team this year. But I'm very high on LSU. I do think that they drop week 1 against Clemson. But after that, I think they go on a tear. And Garrett Nussmeier is ready to take off. He's ready to showcase his talent. And I think this team is going to be really good. I have them going 11-1. I have them going 8-0 in the conference. I have them going into Bryant Denny or Nick Saban, whatever you want to call it, and beating Alabama. I've got them going to Ole Miss and beating Ole Miss. I've got them being able to beat Florida at home. I think that's going to be an easy win. I have them beating Oklahoma in Norman. I think that I've already been through this. I think that LSU has the best record or the best schedule to set them up for success. And so I think that they will be successful. Like I said, I have them going 11-1 and being the best team coming out of the regular season and playing for an SEC title game. I think that Nussmeier is probably the best player in the country. I think he will win the Heisman Trophy. I think it comes down to in week 1. I think we see the top 2 quarterbacks in the country really squaring off. And I think that after Cade Klubnik beats LSU, old Nussbus is not going to put up with that anymore. No more nonsense from the Tigers. So I've got them running the table there till the end and getting to the SEC title game in Atlanta. So I guess
my question to you is you just said you have Garrett Nussmeier winning the Heisman Trophy, but how do you not have him winning SEC Player of the Year?
Yeah, so I was going to get to that. So I've said this on multiple episodes so far in the previews. I think that the Player of the Year award will go to the best player on the best team. I do have Texas winning the SEC, so I think that their best player will be who wins it, and I think that's going to be Arch Manning. Also, his last name just gives him an edge over everybody else just because of who his family is. So like I said, I think Garrett Nussmeier is the best player in the country, but in the SEC, I think that they will give it to Arch Manning because he'll be the best player on the best team, and that's how I think that they give that award out. Just me personally.
Fair enough. So I have Garrett Nussmeier as a Heisman Trophy finalist. I don't want to sell LSU short. I just have them going 9-3 and missing out. I forgot to mention that, but I do have Garrett Nussmeier as a Heisman finalist, which we will get to in our next episode. I haven't talked about Georgia. a whole lot yet. I know I talked about their offensive line. I haven't really gone through and said everything, but I do truly believe that there is a path where this team loses 4 games this year. And I would be senile if I bet against the Kirby Smart team that already feels like everybody's predicting them to do bad on a down year. I'm not going to be the one to do it. I thought long and hard about it. I think Georgia's 10-2 and they get into the playoffs. Honest to God, I think if Georgia's 9-3, there's a world where the committee puts them in as the 11 seed. Truthfully, I didn't put this as my hot take, but I'm going to say it. I think that there will be a 9-3 team out of the SEC to make the playoff this year. I think after last year, they put SMU in. That was abysmal. Not saying that Alabama would have beat Penn State, but I think it would have brought in more money, and I think it would have been more competitive. So I don't foresee the committee making that same mistake again this year. There will be a 9-3 plethora of teams, probably 3 or 4 of them, and one of them is going to get in. And I'm not saying that's going to be Georgia, but all I'm saying is that there's a chance it could be. I think 9-3 is more likely than 12-0. I actually think 9-3 is more likely than 11-1, but I think 10-2 is the most likely outcome, and I'm pretty set on that.
Yeah.
But I'm confident, dogs. I'm not going to bet against Kirby Smart this year. That's for sure.
The big thing for me about Georgia, too, like that sells me is they just don't lose at home. It's just like, yeah, we have to play Bama, we have to play Ole Miss, we have to play Texas, but like Georgia doesn't lose at home, man. And those games are going to be – Athens is going to be freaking wilding for those. And I think Ty Simpson and Arch Manning, that's two quarterbacks, 2 young quarterbacks, with not a lot of experience that are being asked to go into one of the hardest places to play like that. I just don't think they lose at home. That's why I got them dropping the Auburn game. And that's it. I got them going 11-1. I don't think I said that earlier. But yeah.
I got them going 10-2, and I'll go ahead and say Georgia's going to lose a home game this year. I don't know which one it'll be. I think it'll either be Alabama or Texas. I don't think Ole Miss goes in there and beats them after they stormed the field on them last year. But I think whether Arch Manning's clicking on all cylinders, Georgia might be a little beat up, or me personally, I have them losing to Alabama at home. And it's more of a mental thing than it is a talent and coach versus coach and everything else. They've only beat them once, and it wasn't like a Nick Saban thing as we saw last year. Now, I know that game was close and it was on the road. Who's to say that the tables don't turn this year? I just got to personally see it with my own 2 eyes. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys can really going to have too much fault in me for if I picked a home game for Georgia to lose, it was against
100%. Yeah.
Speaking of the Crimson Tide, I got them winning the SEC this year. I think not enough people are talking about them now. I did make up my mind before Jam Miller got hurt a day or 2 ago. I'm going to stick with my pick. I think that they can beat you in many ways. I think bringing Ryan Grubb back with Kalen DeBoer is huge. I think if they truthfully didn't have faith in Ty Simpson to run the Ryan Grubb offense and to run the offense the way Kalen DeBoer wants it, then he wouldn't be starting. I think he is a very good quarterback evaluator, as we've seen with Michael Penix. And then even like people forget when he was the head coach at Fresno State, he had Jake Haener there, who would have thought a Fresno State quarterback would have been a top 3 round pick. He beat 2 Power 5 teams at Fresno State as the quarterback there. Like, I think I have enough faith in Ryan Grubb and enough faith in Kalen DeBoer to have faith in Ty Simpson, if that makes sense. Kind of like a chain there. And I think that they're just going to be one of those teams that they can beat you 31-28, and I think they're going to be able to beat you 16-13. I think the defense is going to be much improved. I think they have on paper, starting out this year, they have the best offensive line in the country, and maybe in the country, definitely in the SEC on paper right now. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think they were held at a disadvantage with Jalen Milroe at quarterback. I think his time was appreciated there. However, I don't think that's how Kalen DeBoer wanted his offense run. I think that the best way I know how to put it, you had a chance to get a 95 on a test with Jalen Milroe, but there was also a chance you could get a 65 on a test, and you didn't know which one it was going to be. There was hardly a lot of 80s, 85s, 75s even. I think with Ty Simpson, you're going to see a lot more B, C+, B+ ball. And I think they're going to have them right where they want them. And I just don't think enough people are talking about the Tide this year. I got them going 11-1. The only game I got them losing is on the road at South Carolina. And every other game, I mean, they get LSU at home. Yeah, they go on that road game to Georgia. I just got to see it to believe it. Definitely a losable game. But the way I had it playing out, I mean, they get Tennessee at home. They get Oklahoma at home. They get Auburn. I mean, they've owned Auburn. That's always a coin flip game. I think the talent's there. I'm just a believer. And the Tide. And Tyler, I will let you talk about your Texas Longhorns first. And then I'll let me and Jake clean it up from there.
Yeah, so I have Texas being very good. I think that they also go 11-1, and I think they're one loss. And I might be contradicting myself from another episode, but my mind has probably changed. I've got Ohio State beating Texas week 1, and then I think Sark says no more bullshit, and they play lights out. I know that I didn't really speak on Georgia too much on their schedule necessarily, but I think that they lose both the Alabama and Texas game. So I do have Texas winning that. I have Texas beating.
That's the way I had it playing out too.
Yeah. I think Texas beats Oklahoma. I know that y'all are so high on Oklahoma, but they're not going to beat Texas. In my mind, I've got them going 11-1. I think they finish the season on an 11-game win streak, just the same as LSU does. And what I think the difference maker is going to be in the actual SEC championship game is that Sark was here last year, and they're hungry. Texas is very hungry. They're preseason favorites. They lost the SEC last year, but then made a run in the playoff. And I think that they're this. If it's going to happen, it's got to be this year for them. It doesn't have to be, but this is the year for their redemption, their revenge. They're ready to go, I think, and that's why I have them edging out LSU and winning the SEC. I do think that the SEC gets four teams, maybe 5 into the playoff. I know 5 is a lot, but I think either way, LSU and Texas get in. I have Alabama also going 11-1 on the year. I think that I guess because of tiebreakers, they didn't get into my title game. But I think they get in, Georgia gets in, and Ole Miss gets into the playoff. But I think that wrapping it up, I think Texas is they're ready to go. They're ready to get revenge on their losses from last year and how they lost to Georgia. I think that that probably left a really salty taste in their mouth, and they're ready to come back and be very strong and be a very good football team.
I'm very close to changing my mind on Texas. The way I originally ran it through, I have them 10-2 and 7-1 in the conference. I'm going to keep my predictions as it is. I think they definitely are a playoff team, and if they are the 9-3 team that comes out, like they're not leaving Arch Manning and 9-3 Texas out of the playoff. Like, just not
who do you have them losing to in the conference?
I have them losing to
I got them
Oklahoma Sooners. I got them losing the Red River rivalry to Oklahoma. I think that there is a world where, like, I'm just taking the home team. I'm taking Ohio State. I'm spoiler. I don't care. I know we're going to preview the game and everything, but I'm taking Ohio State, the home team. There's an odd world out there where Texas has got 3 losses by week 7 or by week 8. Tyler, I know you're hating on Oklahoma, but that's one of those rivalry games where Oklahoma's kind of owned Texas the past 10 years or so. I know they're in 2 different spots right now, but I'm just speaking generally. Who's to say that DJ Lagway isn't healthy and Arch Manning's first road start against Florida, they lose? You know, they could very much so lose against Georgia. It's a very losable game, and they probably will lose to Georgia. I don't know. This team is just, but I keep looking back. The thing that I keep referring to is the talent. They have so much talent at running back. They got the preseason Heisman favorite, everybody's darling, and Arch Manning. You know it's Texas. They're going to have great wide receivers, but that defense led by Anthony Hill Jr., who I originally had as my player of the year before this episode. Now that's changed. But I think the defense is too talented. I think the offense, I don't think Arch Manning's going to have to be a superstar this year. I think he's surrounded by way too much talent, and I think they find a way to win at least 10 games this year. Very much so could only win 9, but I got them winning 10. Got them in my title game, but do have them dropping it to Alabama.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off that. Like you said, Hunter, there's just so much talent on this team. I got them going 10-2. And one of the things like that I've seen when I've been like previewing and making notes and all this is one of their weaknesses offensively could be their offensive line. That's because they're bringing back one starter from last year, but also like they're also the 4 guys that are starting in place of the 4 that are leaving have all been playing with Arch Manning for the past 2 years as like on the 2s. You know what I mean? So like I think that's a big thing that Arch loves. His guy has his offensive line that he's been playing with in practice for the past 2 years. I think it's a big factor. My biggest question for Texas is not necessarily like one side of the ball or the other, or a player or a position group or whatever. It's when they play these big games, like when they played Georgia, both times they got out physical. And when they played Arizona State hit them in the mouth, and they very well could have lost that game to Arizona State in the playoff. So how to start prepare these guys to be ready in big spots, like when they come to Athens, when they play Texas A&M, when they play Ohio State week 1, a very physical football team, the defending national champion on the road. Like I'm interested to see how this team rises to those bigger games and how they come out, and how are they kind of slow, or are they just run around like chickens with their head cut off and just looking to smash people in the mouth, if that makes sense. So that's my biggest question around Texas.
Yeah, good stuff there. Last but not least, the last category over there on the top right, I haven't mentioned yet. I'd like Tyler to read it off for me.
It says John Moneyline Mateer.
Correct. That is my player of the year, John Moneyline Mateer. Get ready for that nickname to be used a lot this year. I think if everything goes right, Oklahoma is going to be a good team, as we made known at the beginning of this show. My biggest thing about Mateer, yes, he might have been playing at Washington State. He might have only played against 44 or 4 again in a stadium full of 40,000 people consistently. But I think the guy's legit. And the biggest thing that goes unsaid about John Mateer is that, and I was talking about this earlier, Oklahoma's going to be able to beat you in multiple ways. I think he's got the arm. He's got the talent around him. Receivers, tight ends, offensive line. Like, I think Oklahoma's set up for success this season. Not to glaze on the team too much, but just solely focusing on John Mateer here. The guy can run the ball too.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he throw for 3,100 yards last year, he also ran it for 977 and he ran it for 826. Sorry, and he ran in for 15 touchdowns. He threw for 29 last year. So I think he's arguably, I mean, you have to call him a dual threat at that point, right? He almost ran for 1,000 yards. And if Jay Knott's having a game, John Mateer can run the ball too. I think he's going to prevail. He's going to show why Oklahoma is going to be a good team. I obviously have them exceeding expectations. He's going to be the reason why. I think he's in New York at the end of the year as a Heisman finalist, and he's my player of the year.
Good stuff. I already touched on mine. I did talk about it, but I have Garrett Nussmeier. Not much to say there. I think he's the best player in the country, and I think he's going to be the best player in the SEC this year. Just putting up video game numbers week in and week out, regardless of who he's playing.
Yeah, and I've already hit on Arch Manning. Again, I think this award typically just goes to the best player on the best team. I have Texas winning the title, so I think their best player is going to win the Player of the Year award.
There you go. Our SEC hot takes. I talked about this at the top of the show. I said it's a very it's not as a standard conference where you just picking from 2 of the top 4 or 5 teams. I think this year they're up to 9 teams that you can choose from, and I got them right here. Now, some of these obviously long shots, but like Texas, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Those 4 easily. We all have some sort of mixture of them. Jake's boys, Texas A&M. Who's to say that they don't find a way in? There's a true possibility out there. They go 10-2 and they make their way to the SEC championship game with tiebreakers. If everything hits for Florida, I mean everything, and DJ Lagway stays healthy and they truly have talent all around them, they can make some damage and find their way in Atlanta. If Austin Simmons lives up to that potential, Ole Miss can be right there in it at the end. If Auburn – I can't believe I'm about to say this out loud. If Auburn – if they run that schedule, it looks pretty easy, and they just win enough conference games. I think some of these would have to come down to tiebreakers, but if we have a bunch of teams up there at 10-2 who say the Auburn Tigers aren't there at the end, obviously I'm high on Oklahoma. And then I think the last team, I don't think Tennessee can make it, but I think the last team, lightning in the bottle, Shane Beamer does it again and finds it, and Lenore Sellers just pops off and has a Heisman Trophy year. I think those 9-10 teams can easily, not easily, but all 10 of those teams, there is a world out there where they truthfully can find their way in the conference title game. I also think if any of those teams played each other and you told me one team upset the other, not much of a shock for me. Be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I could see a world where that happens. Nothing out of the blue this year for this conference.
Good stuff, Hunter. I like it a lot. Mine's kind of in the it's not the same, but it kind of adds to the theme of the conference as it can be anybody. I think that there is potential that everybody beats everybody, and the SEC is only a 3-bid league this year. If everybody's not, like if there's a 9-3 Alabama, for instance, and a 10-2 Ohio State, and neither of those teams were in their conference title games, like Ohio State gets in. That's the kind of trend I'm talking about. Like just that everybody can beat everybody, and there's potential that there's not as many SEC teams as we think there is because everybody has potential to beat everybody, if that makes sense. So that's my hot take. Tyler?
Yeah, mine's a little simple. I think 2 or more teams will have a new coach next season. I think that Stoops could get fired in Kentucky. I think Venables is on the hot seat. I think that I'm having in mind Sam Pittman could be gone. I think that there are this league right now where it stands, there just is so much vulnerability with head coaches, especially with the teams that were at the top and have always been at the top that aren't anymore. I don't even think I said Billy Napier. I just think there's so many moving pieces to this conference right now that these coaches don't know what their future looks like outside of the guys at the top. So my hot take is that 2 or more of these teams will have a new head coach next season, whether that's Brent Venables getting fired or Sam Pittman retiring, whatever it is. I think that's what's going to happen.
Good stuff.
Go ahead, Jake.
All right. We appreciate you guys tuning in. That was a good one. Enjoyed talking ball in the SEC with you guys. As always, go follow us on our socials. And you can find this episode on YouTube. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Next time we talk to y'all, we'll be filling out our playoff brackets. We'll be talking futures. We'll be talking Heisman finalists. And it's about that time, week 0 preview. We appreciate you guys tuning in. That's all I got. Hunter, Tyler, I got anything to add before we get out of here?
God first, God bless. Thank you guys as always.